at the Nürburgring. It's the 8th race weekend of the DTM season 2018, and we're absolutely psyched because there are only 5 more races to go in this season, and we saw a very exciting race yesterday, so let's see what today brings. But first, the qualifying.
Hello and welcome to the Nürburgring for qualifying for race 2 in the DTM. What a race we had yesterday, and what a race we're expecting today. Under the blue skies with a bit of harmless high cloud around, we're expecting conditions to be absolutely dry, and it was all about this man yesterday, René Rast, who was really, he understated what he thought he could do in both qualifying and in the race, and then in the end was absolutely blistering in both. René Rast, of course, supremely experienced racing driver and, of course, current DTM champion. There is Timo Glock, then the BMW driver, who at one point this season had a shoe-in potentially for the Drivers' Championship. That's potentially gone away a little bit now, but there is Lucas Auer, the young Austrian driver, in car number 22, the Mercedes-Benz driver, Lucas Auer. And what can Lucas Auer do in qualifying today? It's a short, sharp qualifying session. We absolutely love the qualifying in DTM because basically everything comes to a glittering crescendo towards the end. And there's Joel Eriksson, we just saw, who took, of course, his maiden win in the DTM in Misano when we were under the lights. And Bruno Spangler, who had a rich vein of form yesterday as well. Bruno Spangler back to the driver that we know he is. Of course, DTM champion when BMW returned to the DTM fold. And Bruno Spangler having a very, very good race yesterday and finishing P2. Gary Paffett finished P3, but of course the race win went to one Mr. R. Rast, who we saw just a few moments ago. Here's Mike Rockenfeller then making his way out of the box now, out of the garage. He took P6 yesterday, and this is Pascal Wehrlein. Now, in free practice 3 earlier on today, it was Mike Rockenfeller that was the quickest, as you can see, with Philipp Eng, and then it was René Rast. Daniel Juncker-Deyer, another race winner in DTM this season. Paul di Resta, Jamie Green, Lucas Auer, Edo Mortara, Nico Muller and Pascal Wehrlein. Now, the driver that's missing from the top 10, if you like, in FP3 is that man, because it was P11 for Gary Paffett, who is the Drivers' Championship leader. But as is always the case, and as I always say, don't read too much into what happened in FP3. It's this that matters, this 20-minute session that's coming up now for DTM qualifying. That is what will be critical, because it gives us the grid for race number 2. We are 8 seconds away from the light going green at the end of the pit lane, and the cars are being released. Beg your pardon. It's a couple more minutes than that. Sorry, I was getting ahead of myself. We have just under 2 minutes before the light goes green, so the preparations of the driver. And Daniel Juncker-Deyer puts himself at the head of the queue. As you can see, Gary Paffett remains in the garage at the moment. He retook the Drivers' Championship lead yesterday because Paul di Resta had a torrid time of it, though Gary was certainly very unhappy about basically Hankook and the ITR have introduced this minimum tyre pressure in the DTM from this round on, because they were concerned about some drivers running dangerously low tyre pressures. So there is a minimum pressure now that has to be run, and Gary felt that that was, in his opinion, not the right thing to do. 15 races this season, 3 wins, 8 podiums, 4 pole positions for Gary Paffett, and he leads the Drivers' Championship on 194 points. Paul di Resta on 186, then it's Edo Mortara, before we see Marco Wittmann breaking that 3-way Mercedes streak at the top of the Drivers' Championship currently. Of course, points are awarded in qualifying as well for the top 3 places, and those points are valuable. Uli Fritz, then, the boss of AMG DTM, looks on. So you get 3 points if you're P1 in quali, 2 points if you're P2, and 1 point if you're P3. Jens Marquardt to the left-hand side of your picture, head of BMW Motorsport. Hello, Jens. Good afternoon. No, good morning still. And some of the spectators enjoying from the balcony there around the race control building. So, where are we? 30 seconds away from the green light now. Won't get ahead of myself again, I promise. And there is Lucas Auer, all carrying that Get Well Wickens hashtag, of course, and our very best wishes to Robert Wickens, former DTM star for Mercedes-Benz, of course. So the circuit then, 3.629 kilometers, and 5 seconds now. Let's count them down. 4, 3, 2, 1. The light should go green now. And it does. I'm glad that happened. I would have looked a fool if it hadn't. And Daniel Juncadella and Jamie Green and Rene Rast and Mike Rockenfeller on their way out of the pit lane. Then it's Paul di Resta. And Gary Paffett feeds his way into the queue of cars making their way out of the pit lane. He's lined up behind Joel Eriksson, race winner in Misano, of course, in his rookie year of DTM. There's Robin Freins then just sliding the back end of the car, trying to generate some temperature into those Hankook tyres. Marco Wittmann, two-time DTM champion. Augusto Farfus. Then it's Timo Glock. Then, as I mentioned, race winner in Misano, Joel Eriksson. Then it's Gary Paffett. Being led out of the garage now is Lucas Auer. Eduardo Mortara is ahead of him. And all of the cars will be out on track for this 20-minute qualifying session, which goes just like that. Really, it does, in the click of a finger. And it does set the grid for the race to come this afternoon. So Loic Duval is the last one to leave the pit lane, I believe. And with all the cars out on track, stand by for 18 or so hot rocking minutes then as Jamie Green weaves from side to side, trying to generate some temperature into the tyres, having already made his way past that Daniel Juncadella Mercedes-Benz car. Yesterday's race winner, Rene Rast. Then we see Mike Rockenfeller. Then it is Paul di Resta, who will be hoping for better result than he achieved in the race yesterday. A lowly P18 finish for Paul di Resta, and crucially out of the points, which saw his lead in the Drivers' Championship taken away by his Mercedes brand mate Gary Paffett. We're on board with Rene Rast now. Superb on-board picture here. Now the yellow dial that you can see right in the middle of the cockpit of the Rene Rast car is the brake bias lever. So you can see you can change the percentage of braking force from the front to the rear of the car as the weight goes down during the course of the race and the car becomes a little bit lighter. So the drivers may choose to adjust that dial and readjust the bias of the braking during the course of the race. You sometimes see them using it during quali as well. They feel that they need just a little bit more braking force in the rear or maybe in the front. You'll see them make adjustments during the course of the qualifying session, of which there are 17 3/4 minutes left. So Mike Rockenfeller then in car number 99, P6 yesterday for Rocky. Only one podium this year, taking that P2 place, of course, in that phenomenal battle we had at the opening round at Hockenheim way back in the beginning of May. You'll recall the race with Gary Paffett and Timo Glock, where they were virtually welded together, and just towards the end of that, Mike Rockenfeller was able to get in as well. And Mr. Alfrecht then, former chairman, of course, of the ITR, the organisation that runs the DTM, that position now held by one Mr. Gerhard Berger. Good to see Mr. Alfrecht in the pit lane as Mike Rockenfeller continues to weave from side to side, generating temperature into those tyres and into the chicane now, where he takes a little bit of curb on the entry and then less curb on the exit, setting himself up perfectly for this final turn. The first time that we can put on the screen comes from Jamie Green, a 127.884, 127.884. which is immediately bettered by Rene Rast with a 125.927. Then it's Daniel Juncadella who goes quicker with a 127.161, puts himself P2. So it's Rast and Juncadella. And here is Mike Rockenfeller then in the number 99 car. Still can't get used to the fact that Rocky is in that green livery. And that mix of green and white, which is, of course, in comparison to last year's car, not the familiar livery of Mike Rockenfeller. On board with Marco Wittmann now, two-time DTM champion, the man that hails from Fürth, just outside the Nürburgring city, which is, of course, the city of the Nürburgring circuit, that fantastic street circuit that we enjoy so much on the DTM calendar every year. So Rast and Juncadella P1 and P2. Then it's Rocky, Green, Freins, di Resta, Wittmann, Paffett. Don't read too much into this, very early stages of the qualifying session, as Pascal Wehrlein now goes sixth fastest. Rast once again is on another quick one, although the middle sector not quite so good for Rast. Danny Juncadella is looking sharp here. Personal best through sector 1, better than anyone through sector 2. So Daniel Juncadella, who's currently second fastest with that 127.161, expect him potentially to go to the top of the timing chart now when he concludes this lap. He's in sector 3 now and about to break the timing beam now. Daniel Juncadella actually does not improve because his final sector was not good. So the colour indications on the graphics that you can see, if it's green, as we can see with Marco Wittmann at the moment, the 3 bars indicate sector 1, sector 2 and sector 3. If it's a green colour, that means the driver has done a personal best in that particular sector. If it's white, it means it's nothing extraordinary. But if it's purple, as you can see with Gary Paffett through the middle sector at the moment, it means it's better than anybody. So we're on board with René Rast. It looks like a good time potentially coming from Gary Paffett now as he crosses the timing line. Paffett goes from P12 to P12, stays there. Lost it all in the final sector. So now Gary winds the car up. Nico Müller has gone quicker than anyone through sector 1, as you can see in the number 51 car. So too has Jamie Green. Nico Müller just closes sector 2, having gone personally the quickest through sector 2. This is Gary Paffett then, who's down there in P14 at the moment. He had a green and a purple sector and then a white sector, and this is going to be a quick lap from Jamie Green. Look at this, he was 2 seconds quicker than anybody else on the cumulative time through sector 2. It's also going to be a quick one from René Rast as well. Now Jamie Green is going to cross the timing line ahead of René Rast, I think. Here comes Nico Müller, who lost it all in the final sector. Here comes Jamie Green, goes from P4 to P1, but expect that to be immediately taken by René Rast, who crosses the line now. Sure enough, Rast goes to the top with a 122.864. But Rockefeller has now gone even quicker with a 122.544. We're talking 3/10. That's a huge margin in DTM. Only 3 drivers are in the 22s. It's Rocky, Rast and De Resta, but now Marco Wittmann splits them up by going second fastest, and now it's the Brazilian Augusto Farfus who goes second fastest with a 122.6. So what generally happens with this qualifying session is that drivers come out now as Paffett goes quickest with a 122.521, 2/100ths quicker. The drivers come out, they bank an early lap. This is going to be a quick one from Philip Eng. I've just noticed the graphics on the screen. Philip Eng is quicker than anyone through sector 1 and sector 2. Here he comes to break the beam now. Philip Eng goes from P13 to P1, taking a full 3/10 out of Paffett's time. So Philip Eng with a 122.159. We're going to get a sub 122 time. We're going to be into the 121s, I think. What happens with quali is drivers come out, they bank a lap early on, then they come in, change the tyres and come out for another session towards the end of the qualifying time. So on board with Gary Paffett. Lucas Auer has gone second fastest now, so it's Philip Eng for BMW, Lucas Auer for Mercedes-Benz. The best of the Audis is Mike Rockefeller, and we're on board with Gary Paffett then. Here comes Rocky now, P5, and he stays P5 because it's not an improvement, 122.702 from Mike Rockefeller. Paul de Resta crosses the line now. It's merely P13 for Paul de Resta currently. Gary has done personal bests in sector 1 and sector 2. So too has Timo Glock. So Timo Glock, who's currently 7th fastest. Here comes Paffett around the turn, the final turn now. And he heads to the timing beam and makes it P3. So the order is BMW with Philip Eng, Mercedes with Lucas Auer, Mercedes with Gary Paffett, and Audi with yesterday's race winner, René Rast. So Eng, Auer, Paffett, Rast. In comes Lucas Auer then. And we've got nearly all the cars out on track with the exception of Lucas Auer, as you can see. He's on his way into the pit lane now. We've got 11 and a bit minutes remaining in the qualifying session. And the qualifying session that is being led by Philip Eng with that 122.159. Wonder if we're going to get into the 121s in the second half of the qualifying session. So Lucas Auer makes his way down the pit lane now. Eng, Auer, Paffett, Rast, Rockefeller, Müller, Glock, Wittmann, Green, and Joel Eriksson rounding out the top 10 at the moment. So the car will be pushed back into the garage. I mean, it seems absolutely amazing to me that with just 20 minutes of qualifying time, but the teams and the drivers all work so very closely together. It's a close-knit team, and they know exactly when to put the driver out and when to bring the driver in. And it's all timed absolutely perfectly. Here comes Mike Rockefeller then. His car will be taken back into the garage. Data screen will be put in front of the driver so they can take a look at all the data and ascertain exactly what turn, where they need to make up a bit of time. This is Philip Eng then, who is currently the fastest. He's coming into the pit lane as well. Philip Eng, who in his debut year in DTM this year has taken 2 podiums, 2 P3 places, the win, And I say this to him, it's just around the corner. It's got to come. We know what a talented driver Philipp Eng is. But then every single driver that is in DTM is a supremely experienced and talented driver. This is Philipp Eng in replay then. Really fighting with that BMW to get the maximum out of it. And a joy to watch as he uses just enough of the curbs and using every spare centimetre of the tarmac to propel that BMW around this track as quickly as possible. 1:22.159 is the fastest time so far from Philipp Eng, with Lucas Auer P2 and Gary Paffett P3 in the qualifying so far. That's a great shot going into the chicane. As you can see, takes a little bit of curb going in and then takes an even bigger lump of the curb coming out. It always surprises me. That chicane, you're actually running uphill as well, so there is a tendency to try and take as much as possible. There, as I promised you, Philipp Eng gets the screen placed in front of him so he can check out all the data. And the drivers go to work on the tyres. As I said, there's been a change this weekend with the tyre pressures being really, really monitored. And this is something that is really, really special about the DTM, is that brilliant fan view into the pit garages that is afforded to the race fans. Basically, you need nothing extra to be able to do that. It's garages are opened up in the pit lane behind those windows so that you can see everything that's going on inside the garages. Gary Paffett studies the data then across the first part of that qualifying session.
Yeah, so if you don't get time, Stuart, just tell me on the outlets again. Last exit to Lugi.
So listening into him on the team radio as well. There's not as much team radio traffic as there used to be because a lot of the instructions have been banned now from team radio. And that means that the radio traffic during the course of our broadcasts, thankfully, is not interrupted by team radio. For sometimes it was interrupted with messages that were inaudible, and that was ever frustrating. But there you can see in super slow-mo then, René Rast, who finds the stones and kicks them up off the back of the car. Now, that, of course, always affects those cars that are running behind because the stones get thrown across the tarmac. So Timo Glock with a new set of tyres going on then, those Hankook tyres being tightened then, wheels being tightened, and Timo Glock fires the car up, the flames spit out of the exhausts. And here comes Marco Wittmann and René Rast. All of a sudden, with just under 7.5 minutes of the qualifying session remaining, it becomes, once again, very, very busy. And Marco Wittmann has done a very good job here because what he's done is put himself at the head of that queue, which means that he's got a clear track ahead of him. Because it can become very, very busy indeed. Lots of spectators here to enjoy the race action, which features not only DTM, but also the FIA Formula 3 European Championship, with one Mr. Mick Schumacher, who drove a DTM car this weekend. The ITR arranged for him to have a drive in a DTM car as Edo Mortara and Lucas Auer are out of the garages. And here comes the current leader in the timing, Philipp Eng, as Loic Duval. Then it's Daniel Juncadella, the Spanish driver, a race winner, of course, in the UK at Brands Hatch with DTM. So the fastest time is a 1:22.159. Are we going to see a time into the 1:21s? We have seen this year where the pole sitting time has actually come from the first part of qualifying. It was Gary Paffett that did that. And so it's not always a given that we're going to see a quicker time during the second part of qualifying. Runs that it should happen because there's a little bit more rubber down on the track, and you know the temperature might have improved by perhaps half a degree or so because we have local time now 11:30 on the dot. On board with Paul di Resta, and there the most successful man in DTM, Mr. Bernd Schneider, looks on from the Mercedes-Benz garage. And here is Paul di Resta running down behind the paddock now, here at the Nürburgring, through that little kink, which is classified as a turn, but he's taken absolutely flat, heading up towards the chicane now. And as you can see, as you turn left and then right, you do begin climbing uphill towards the final turn here at the Nürburgring. And that brings you round onto the start-finish straight with 5 minutes and 15 seconds of this qualifying session remaining. Philipp Eng leading the way with that 1:22.159. Weave takes more than a lap to get the temperature into the tyres. And Paul di Resta following then. So on board with Paul di Resta. Behind the current quali leader, Philipp Eng. Just going to try and go past him. Of course, the two of them had a coming together in the race yesterday. Really thought that was a racing incident, and 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, but Philipp Eng actually got a drive-through penalty for it, so we only saw it from one camera angle, and I felt at the time that maybe that was a bit harsh, but of course the race stewarding team have access to many more images than I do, and they judged Philipp Eng to have been at fault, and therefore he had a drive-through penalty, which still didn't give anything back to this man, Paul di Resta, who of course lost his Drivers' Championship lead with that instance, so he needs to put it all right today. And the first part of putting it all right today is of course doing a very good job in qualifying, which thus far he needs to improve, because it's P14 with a 1:22.7, but it's so close in the DTM. The top, well, there's only one driver that's not in the 1:22s, and that's Robin Freins, who's in 1:23.0. From P1 to P18 split by no more than a second. Extraordinarily close. Mike Rockenfeller, 5th fastest at the moment, 1:22.544. So Mike Rockenfeller in the Schaeffler Audi then. We have the, oh, and that's a big mistake. That will be the end of this lap for Mike Rockenfeller. Again, Pat's tyres not quite up to temperature, and therefore a lock-up, and that has completely compromised this particular lap, so he'll dig in and do it all over again. This is Lloyd Duval, and this is Philipp Eng. So Philipp Eng then, new into the DTM, still after that heat into the tyres, as you can see. And this, a replay of Mike Rockenfeller with the front end of the car becoming light. As you run downhill there, this little loopy section, and you can see the lock-up as it came from Mike Rockenfeller and runs out onto the runoff area. So René Rast, Marco Wittmann and Mike Rockenfeller will go again now. So let's go on board with René Rast as he takes us on a high-speed lap around the Nürburgring circuit. Then René Rast, yesterday's race winner, really understated his performance in qualifying, and suggested that if he could get a podium out of the race, he would consider himself very lucky. This is the brilliant splitter cam, where we take you down to within a centimetre of the tarmac on board the René Rast car. Downhill, brakes, back onto the throttle again, does the back end of the car step out just a little bit as René Rast holds on to it. He's put a personal best through Sector 1. He is currently 4th fastest. No one else is changing colours in the sectors at the moment, so René Rast is the quickest driver out there currently. Expect that to change within a second or two, because we've only got 1 minute and 50 seconds of the qualifying session remaining. Will he reach 245 kilometres per hour? Just beyond it, I think, as he approached the NGK chicane. So PB for Rast in Sector 1 and Sector 2. This could be an improvement. Is it going to be enough to knock Philipp Eng off the top spot of the timing screens? Not sure. As Rast heads towards the timing line now, it's not enough to take Philipp Eng off the top, but it's enough to propel Rast up to P2. Here comes Gary Pavitt. His middle sector was not probably quick enough, as Philipp Eng has gone quickest of anyone, as you can see from the purple. Through Sector 1, he's on a really quick one, is Philipp Eng. He's already quickest, but he's looking for an improvement. That does not come in Sector 2. Gary Pavitt finds himself 3rd fastest. We're with Philipp Eng now. He needs to dial it all together in the final sector. He is already fastest. Are we going to see an improvement on that 1:22.159 as Eng heads towards the timing line now? It's not going to be an improvement. He is a 10th and a half down on his previous best. Rast now has gone fastest through Sector 1. So René Rast is the one to watch in the Audi then, with 30 seconds remaining in this qualifying. Is René Rast going to topple Philipp Eng from the top spot? Is Gary Pavitt going to do it as well? Because he's now gone purple through the first sector. So Rast, all of a sudden, his purple turns to green because Gary Pavitt has gone quicker than anyone in that Sector 1. Here is René Rast then. One more turn to do. Joel Eriksson, personal best through everywhere, gives him P7. Paffett's middle sector was not brilliant, nor was Rast's. But René Rast now does topple Philipp Eng with a 122.140. We're talking about a 100th difference. Here comes Paffett from P3. He goes up to P2. 6 1,000ths down. That's all it is. That's how close it is. 122.140 to 122.146. And there's no one else. Timo Glock just banks a time that's quick enough for P4. Don't think there's anyone else on a quick one that's going to trouble the leaders. Daniel Juncadella into the pit lane. Edo Mortara here. His sector times have not been at all good. So whilst this might be an improvement for Edo Mortara, actually it isn't. And Lucas Auer stays at P5. So the order is René Rast, Gary Paffett, Philipp Eng, Timo Glock, and Lucas Auer. So we're on board with the man that will take pole position for race 2 of this weekend at the Nürburgring, René Rast, in car number 33. So Rast does it all over again. And he's pretty happy about that, coming into the pit lane. And there is Arno Zenzen, head of Rast's team, who will be also pretty happy. So the car's into Parc Fermé then. And there is Gary Paffett. He's done enough for P2, but it was so close. As I say, a 122.140 and a 122.146. This, of course, will have helped Gary Paffett with regards to the Drivers' Championship, because he banks a couple of points for that P2 place in qualifying. There, René Rast then. Very satisfied with that performance. Super slow-mo of the car that is top of the timing screen, René Rast. So the number 33 car has done it all over again. There. Arno Zenzen and Philipp Eng and Gary Paffett and René Rast then all in conversation then about their qualifying performance. So they all get together for the photograph. It's P1 for René Rast in the middle, P2 for Gary Paffett to the left-hand side, and then P3 for Philipp Eng on the right-hand side. Once again, we're in this position brilliantly with DTM, where all 3 manufacturers across the top 3 places in qualifying as well. So confirmation of the result of qualifying. René Rast P1, Gary Paffett P2, then it was Philipp Eng, Timo Glock, Lucas Auer, Pascal Wehrlein, Mike Rockenfeller, Bruno Spangler, Marco Wittmann, Joel Eriksson, and then the rest of the order as you can see on screen. So it's another couple of points for Gary Paffett. It's a P2 start, front row. He's with Verena.
Oh, and this man, I think, is very happy. Congratulations. I mean, P2 is fantastic for the race, so you've got to be absolutely thrilled.
Yeah, really happy. I mean, the car, getting quali is really good. It is tough around here because the grip level isn't that high, so you're really tiptoeing sometimes around and trying not to make too many mistakes. But it was a pretty solid lap, especially at the end of the lap, and I haven't seen the times, but I believe we're pretty close to pole again. So obviously disappointed to miss out on pole by so close, but really happy to be on the front row again for the race.
Right, well, best of luck for the race. See you in a bit. Back to you.
Thanks so much. 6 1,000ths, Gary. That's how close it was. Super slow-mo then of René Rast, our pole sitter for race number 2 of this weekend here at the Nürburgring. He will be going from pole position at 122.140, as I said, just 6/1000ths quicker than Gary Paffett. Philipp Eng, another very good qualifying performance from him, a 122.159. Let's hear from him.
Philipp Eng, now I know that I talked to your boss this morning and he kind of said put the car on pole. So do you think he's going to be disappointed or is he going to be happy that you're starting in P3 for the race?
Well, I would prefer the sessions to be only 10 minutes because after the first set of tires I was twice on top, finishing 6th yesterday and 3rd today. But I don't think Jens is disappointed. I'm sure he will be happy. I'm happy. I had a very good car. And we really did a good development overnight, and I'm looking forward to the race now.
And knowing you, I know you're going to try your best and push really hard. So best of luck for the race, Philipp. Thank you, and back to you. Yeah,
Philipp Eng then, as he says, if it was only 10 minutes long, he did. He was for a long time at the top of the qualifying session, wasn't he? So a good result for Philipp Eng, a 122.159. Gives him P3. Gary Paffett second fastest, but the man that is the quickest is René Rast, 122.140. We didn't get into a 121 time. Did wonder whether we would see a 121 time towards the end of the qualifying session, but it wasn't given, and it didn't happen. So we stayed in the 122s. So René Rast was the quickest of them all, 122.140. Let's hear from him.
Well, hello again, René. Congratulations. I mean, another pole, and let's see if you can make it another victory today. Let's see if you can repeat it.
Yeah, unbelievable weekend so far. I mean, whenever I was counting, we were there and taking P1. Obviously, another pole, 3 points. I think I moved up now to P4 in the championship, past Marco with that. Obviously, very, very good, very happy. The team did an amazing job. Fantastic car again. Hopefully a bit more race pace today, so I don't have to fight that much. But let's see. I think we can be very happy with what we achieved already.
All right, well, best of luck. Thank you so much. Back to you.
Well, he wasn't quite as understated today as he was yesterday, but we'll be able to see what René will be able to do in the race. Of course, the race coming up a little bit later on, around about 1:15 local time. Hope you can join us as we begin our big build-up to race number 2 of the weekend here at the Nürburgring. This 3.629-kilometre circuit under the blue skies, which is not always a given here at the Nürburgring. We are looking forward to a very, very good race to come. And the race lineup will be René Rast, Gary Paffett, Philipp Eng, Timo Glock, Lucas Au, and Pascal Wehrlein, rounding out the first 3 rows of the grid. So there we have it, under the site of the castle, the Nürburgring Castle. Then qualifying is done and dusted. Please make sure you join us for the race a little bit later this afternoon.
Really a very exciting qualifying. Make sure not to miss out on the race in just a bit. So tune in, that's for sure. It's going to be exciting. Here are the highlights of the qualifying and see you later.